Good evening, sir. Are you waiting on anyone else, or will it just be you and your phone this evening? I'm waiting on one more. Perfect, sir. So that's 2 people staring at 2 phones. For your comfort, I'll be right back with 2 complimentary phone stands. It's our first date, actually, so there won't be anyone staring at their phones tonight. Sir, may I ask, your generation is...
Millennial.
Millennial, sir. And your date?
Gen Z.
Bring the stands. Excellent choice, sir. Wine? I don't know anything about wine. I'm a Miller Lite guy. I'm the son of a mechanic. He never taught me anything about wine. Did he?
Son, only ever drink Miller Lite.
Fuck. Okay. I'm a pretty smart guy. I can figure this out. Let me take a look at this wine list. That doesn't seem to contain human words. Double fuck. Okay, new plan. I'll find a video on the internet or something. That'll work. Okay. Yeah, perfect. This one, yes. Have you ever tried to order a bottle of wine at a restaurant? It's wild, right? They hand you that giant book, and so you do what any reasonable person would do when handed a book. You read it. But as you read it, you quickly discover there is no salvation to be found in those pages. Just row after row of vintage, varietal, and vineyard. Vintage, varietal, and vineyard. Vintage, varietal, and vineyard. What if I told you there was a better way? A way that all but guarantees you will end up getting a great bottle of wine every single time. And on top of that, it takes less than 10 minutes to learn. Sound interesting? Well, then you're in the right place. By the way, I'm Dustin. I make wine videos for non-wine people. And these are the seven things you need to know to pick a great wine at any restaurant. Are you ready? Let's get to work. I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Here is your phone stand. And for the table, may I bring some fresh bread and fidget spinners? Bread and fidget spinners? Bring the bread and fidget spinners. Excellent choice, sir. The first thing you need to know is this. Stop reading the wine menu. Reading the wine menu isn't very helpful unless somehow you've tasted every wine on it. Otherwise, you're guessing. Now granted, we can make educated guesses about what wine you might like by reading the wine menu, and in fact, most advice on this topic will try to take you down that path, but that's a tough path. It's a path filled with a lot of memorization of regions and appellations, the differences between the old world and new, and words like terroir. Probably not the most fun place for non-wine people, and honestly, it puts all of the responsibility in the wrong place, on you. But you didn't handpick each bottle that went on the menu, so why should you be expected to know anything about these wines? Thankfully, you aren't. Which brings me to the second thing you need to know. Stop reading the menu and start having a conversation with the restaurant. This means instead of flying solo, try to collaborate with the restaurant by bringing them into the selection process so you can benefit from their help and expertise. This strategy has 2 major benefits. First, the restaurant has tasted every wine on the menu. I mean, they handpicked them after all, so they are actually qualified to help you find a wine you'll love without having to guess. And second, it just takes so much pressure and anxiety off of you because you are no longer responsible for making a decision in a vacuum. You can share the responsibility and have some recourse if things don't work out. Besides, you're already familiar with doing this during other parts of your meal anyway, like when the server recommends a dessert to you saying, if you like chocolate, then you'll definitely like this. Pressure off of you, right? That's a social contract. If this dessert comes out and you don't like it, then you now have a firm foundation upon which to communicate your concern. You're no longer saying, I'm sorry, I just don't like it, which sounds like kind of a you problem. Instead, you're saying, I'm really thankful for your recommendation because I love chocolate, but this just isn't for me. Perhaps there are some other options we could consider? Now that sounds like an us problem. Now I know, starting a conversation about wine probably feels like I'm asking you to do something even harder than reading the menu. People always feel like they don't have the words to describe what they're looking for in wine. I promise though, it's actually a lot easier than you think. All you have to talk about is budget, background, and qualities. Which brings me to the third thing you need to know. Begin your conversation with the restaurant by describing your budget. This need not be complicated. Just give the restaurant a sense of the general ballpark you're looking to stay beneath. You can open the conversation saying something like, we're looking to spend at most $80 or so. That's it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, but here is your bread and your fidget spinners. Sir, this lighting simply won't do. I'll be back with a more age-appropriate light. An age-appropriate light? A ring light, sir. A ring light? Bring the goddamn light. Excellent choice, sir. The fourth thing you need to know is this. After describing your budget with the restaurant, you should then describe your background. So technically in this state, it isn't even really a felony. Not that background, your wine background. Your background is basically how into wine you are and how into wine the rest of the people at your table are. It's a spectrum. Are y'all just beginners starting out, or are you absolutely slamming the clam of every Grand Cru in town? But why is this so important? Because by and large, beginners are put off by wines that are high in tannin and high in acid. Obviously, we want to make sure everyone at the table has a good time, so sharing a few words about each person's wine background will help the restaurant recommend bottles that everyone will enjoy. All you need to say is something like this. I'm a pretty avid wine drinker, but some folks at the table are pretty new to wine drinking, and so I want to make sure we find something approachable that everyone can enjoy. Now, I think this might be a good time for us all to take a collective breath together. We're about to enter the space where people typically feel the most uncomfortable. Which brings us to the fifth thing you need to know. Describe what qualities you want in the wine. Listen, people understandably get hung up overthinking this part. We've all read these eye-roll-inducing tasting notes of Sichuan peppercorns or chanterelle mushrooms. This is not what we're trying to do here. We only need to communicate a few very simple things to be successful. The type of wine you're seeking, simply red, white, or sparkling, how open to sweetness you are, and the overall intensity of the wine. The trick here is to do the opposite of all of that Sichuan peppercorn stuff. Use the simplest words you can. It's as easy as, we're interested in a red wine, something lighter, not too intense, and we're open to some sweetness. That's it. And hey, look at you. You just described what you wanted in a wine like a pro. You're officially in the 99th percentile of all humans. Welcome to the club. As a club member, you've gained access to something very special. Want to know what it is? It's the sixth thing you need to know, silly, which is share what qualities you don't want in the wine. This is easily the most overlooked piece of the conversation, and I would argue is the single most important part. Why? Because it is the actual insurance policy against bad wine. The focus here isn't about tasting notes. So you're not trying to tell the restaurant that you don't want wine that has notes of cherry. Don't be that person. Instead, you're trying to tell them you don't want wine with noticeable flaws. In other words, you don't want bad wine. So what do you say then? I recommend saying that you want to avoid anything that tastes overly harsh, astringent, or medicinal. To me, these are the holy trinity of wine flaws. The vast majority of yuck tastes in wine can be described reasonably as either harsh, astringent, or medicinal. So it's a hell of a catch-all. But hey, the big bonus here is that all of these instructions are going to be super easy for you to remember. In fact, I don't think you'll forget them even if you try, because when you take the acronym for the main talking points from earlier and put it next to this latest acronym, a breathtakingly beautiful mnemonic device is formed, and I don't know, I just feel like once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, but here is your ring light. Sir, if I may, there is one more thing that could really help your date go well. What? Some avocado toast? A Stanley water bottle? Tell me, what else could help my date go well? If everyone watching this video clicked like and subscribe. What? It helps teach the algorithm about the who are you talking to type of content that you actually like watching, so that you don't find yourself endlessly scrolling with nothing good to watch. Are you on drugs? Yeah. But we're not out of the woods yet. Let's bring this home with the seventh thing you need to know. Communicate any concerns to the restaurant as soon as possible. Listen, you're incredible. You've clearly articulated what you want and don't want wine-wise, but an issue can still pop up. It's possible the bottle might have a taint like cork rot, or the bottle has more ham than you'd like. This doesn't mean all is lost. Quite the opposite. You've done all this amazing work to set expectations and to build this social contract. So if you have a concern, then all you need to do is share it. Now, I think where people get hung up is feeling the need to know definitively that there's an issue before raising it. In other words, sometimes you just aren't sure yet. It feels like you took one little sip, it was okay, maybe it tastes a little funky, or maybe it was a bit hammy. That's fine. Tell them that. You don't have to say there is definitely a problem. Just that based off of the first sip or two, it's kind of harsh or astringent or just bad. Don't forget, it's important that you share your concerns as soon as possible, because if it turns out the bottle just isn't to your taste, then the restaurant will still have a chance to sell the essentially full bottle by the glass or share it with their staff as a treat. You don't want to be that person who drinks half the bottle and then tries to send it back. That would make you a dick. Don't be a dick. And here's a quick bonus for you. If after all of this you're still feeling unsure, then ask the restaurant if they have any recommendations that are also available by the glass. If so, then I promise they will be more than happy to pour you a small taste to try, because it's a classic win-win. You get to feel confident committing to a full bottle, and they get to feel secure you won't be sending it back. Sorry to interrupt you, sir, but would you be interested in placing a drink order or perhaps a bottle of wine? Yes, actually, I finally feel like I know what I'm doing. No thanks to the wine menu filled with gibberish or the phone stands and fidget spinners and this goddamn ring light. I finally have some clarity. I would like to order 2 Miller Lights.